Welcome back from that short break. You are tuned into the Power Station Energy 100, but you can, of course, also go back and listen to our previous talks. That is Iconic at Let's Talk Business with Mr. Daniel Steinman. So if you want to know what we've been talking about for the past years, you can, of course, go to economist.com.na and you will find all the conversations that you are delighted to hear about. Interesting talks, of course, and today we're talking about fuel prices. We have touched on petrol prices that are down, but also, the importance of when you are actually purchasing your oil in order to, have a good business.
Yes, you are on track.
Yes.
It's a very complex market.
It is,
but
indeed.
I can see that I have not wasted my energy in teaching you how it works. No, you've got the basic grasp of it. The thing is, because of this futures aspect in it, this unpredictability in what the price will be actually in 3 months from now when we sell our diesel, you have to build in a mechanism to iron that out, to make the market smooth. And it's actually called smoothing, in the price volatility of crude. Otherwise, it would have created untenable conditions for filling station garage owners and for the owners of the brand names, the Shells and the BPs and the Texacos. The fuel companies that control the refineries. So what we have is we have an equalization fund. And if you look at the way that the fuel price is put together, how it's compiled, you will first of all, to your horror, discover that nearly 70% of the price of the almost $22 that you pay for a liter of diesel or petrol, nearly 70% of that is consists of royalties and levies. So these are various taxes in various forms. And if you now compare how cheap fuel, petrol especially, is in Angola, then you can make out the argument, why do we need all these royalties and taxes? Why is it necessary to load the fuel price to make it so expensive? Because let us not kid ourselves, the jump in the fuel price 2 years ago is the reason for the jump in inflation. And you and I have talked about cost of living crisis many times.
Yes, we have.
And I've told you that cost of living crisis is not past yet. And as long as the fuel price remains where it is, there at very close to 22 Namibia dollars per liter, you will not see inflation coming down. It'll stay elevated. And you and I will suffer in our daily expenses. Why? Because of the cost of fuel. Now we come to a point where we said earlier, we're very glad that we now, for the first time in many months, we actually see a reduction. The fuel price is coming down. It's just come down beginning of June. Now, how is that possible? And this is where the equalization fund comes in. And the equalization fund, part of this fuel price, this spread of components in the fuel price, is a contribution to the equalization fund. And it's like a piggy bank. It is a provisional fund where the Ministry of Mines and Energy, from all the money that the income that they generate from the sales of fuel in Namibia, a small fraction goes to the equalization fund. And this is determined by what the fuel cost at the refinery. But if you now keep in mind what I've just said 5 minutes ago, the price at the refinery is extremely volatile. It goes up and down every day. Why? Because they also don't know what they will pay in 3 months from now. Do you see this? This whole the fact that it is futures options is is extremely important to understand the dynamics of the fuel market. So now we have this equalization fund, and a small part of the retail price goes to the equalization fund. And if the crude price, or the price at which the government had to, or the fuel companies had to buy from the refineries, if that was higher than the allocation to the equalization fund, it is called an undersupply. Undersupply, yes, if it is higher. Meaning there's a deficit on the fund. And if the price at the refinery was cheaper than that slice that is contributed from the retail price, then it is an oversupply, overfunding. And this is exactly what has now happened during May, is that the equalization fund collected more in contributions from the sale of fuels than what the petrol companies had to pay to the refineries. So there's a surplus.
Okay.
And that surplus is kicked back to the, through the retail channel to the consumer, the owner of the vehicle.
Yeah.
And this is what has now happened in June. There was the contribution to the equalization fund was higher than the price paid for the fuel at the refinery. And it created a small surplus, but the small surplus is channeled back to the guy who drives the car.
I don't know about our listeners, but I certainly feel like I'm sitting in front of the class with Mr. Daniel Staman being my lecturer. But let's quickly go for another short break, and once we come back, we get more into fuel prices.